It might seem like nothing. A quick hello, a handshake, maybe a polite smile and a few words exchanged before the moment moves on. We often think of greetings as mere habits, small rituals we perform without much thought. But what if I told you that in those few seconds, something far more meaningful is unfolding? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll never see a simple greeting the same way again. Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in psychology, once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." Think about that. Two people come together, and even before a single word is spoken, something stirs beneath the surface. It might be subtle. You may not even notice it if you're not paying attention. But the truth is, the body speaks long before the mouth does. When a man is drawn to a woman, truly drawn to her, something changes the moment he sees her. His energy shifts. His gaze becomes charged with something unsaid. His body responds before he even understands what he's feeling. And it all begins right there in that simple, fleeting act of saying hello. This video will help you see what's usually invisible. You'll learn to recognize the emotional clues that come alive during that first moment, when the conscious mind is still silent and the unconscious is speaking loud and clear. Because if you know how to look, you'll start to see that a greeting is far more than formality. It's the opening scene of an emotional story that hasn't been told yet, but already wants to be. And trust me, you'll want to watch this until the very end, because there's a message waiting for you that might just change the way you connect with others from this day forward. So settle in and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This is only the beginning. In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into how a man's unconscious reveals itself before he even knows what he's feeling. And I'll ask you to think back to a moment of your own, one that might just mirror what we're about to uncover. Think about a time, maybe just once, when someone greeted you and something felt different. Not necessarily because of what they said, but because of how they said it. Maybe their eyes lit up, maybe they stood a little closer than usual. Maybe it was the tone of their voice, the way they smiled, or how they hesitated for just a second longer. Do you remember that moment? If you do, tell me about it in the comments. What was it that made you feel there was something more behind that greeting? Because here's the truth, the body knows before the mind does. And that's exactly what happens when a man feels genuine attraction. His unconscious takes the lead. His posture changes, his gestures soften, and the neutrality he normally holds in social interactions begins to disappear. He might try to play it cool, he might not say anything at all, but his body will always betray what he feels deep down. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's never more visible than in the first few seconds of a greeting. In that brief window, the unconscious is fully in charge. There's no room for strategies or rehearsed charm. The way he looks at you, the way his shoulders drop or his face brightens, it all speaks volumes long before any words are spoken. And this isn't just theory. You can feel the shift. There's a subtle emotional reaction that creates an atmosphere, an energy, an almost magnetic field around the moment. If he likes you, even if he doesn't realize it himself yet, his body will start to show it. And once you learn to tune in to those unspoken cues, you'll start to see patterns, glimpses of emotion that surface without warning, signs that are honest because they haven't yet been filtered by the rational mind. So, if you've ever wondered whether a man was interested in you, go back in your memory to that first moment. Was there something in his body language that felt warmer, more alive, more present? Keep watching, because what comes next will show you exactly where to look, and how even the smallest detail can say everything he doesn't. By now, you've probably realized that the most revealing signs of attraction often hide in plain sight. One of the clearest and yet most underestimated is where his eyes go the moment he sees you, and more specifically, whether his gaze lingers on your hair. It might sound trivial. You might think he's just being polite or mildly observant, but in reality, this is one of the strongest indicators that something deeper is unfolding beneath the surface. Hair carries symbolism, always has. Throughout history, it's been associated with identity, sensuality, personal change, and even power. When someone changes their hairstyle, it's rarely just cosmetic. It can be a signal of transformation, of wanting to be seen in a new way. So when a man notices it, not just in passing but really sees it, it often means he's looking at you through a much more emotionally invested lens. You see, most men don't consciously register subtle changes in appearance unless they're already paying emotional attention. His brain, much like yours, filters out the unnecessary. So if something about your hair catches his eye, whether it's a new color, a different cut, or simply the way it catches the light, there's a good chance he's not just noticing the change, he's noticing you. And it's not only about where he looks, but how. If he smiles while his eyes move through your features, or if he comments, perhaps awkwardly or unexpectedly, on how good it looks, that's his unconscious doing the talking. He may not even realize why he said it, but the message is there. I see you, you matter to me, and I want you to know that. Even more telling is if he remembers it. If he brings it up again later, or compares it to how you looked before, then it's no longer a moment, it's a memory. And memories are reserved for things that move us emotionally. Jung believed that attention itself is a form of love. And in this small, easily overlooked detail, you can glimpse something incredibly sincere. His desire to connect, even if it's hidden behind a casual compliment. Keep your eyes open, because what might seem like a glance could in fact be a quiet confession. Sometimes the most powerful signals come in the smallest, briefest expressions. You've probably seen it before, the moment someone spots you and their entire face lights up. There's a genuine smile, and just for a split second, their eyebrows lift slightly. It happens fast, almost invisibly. But if you catch it, you're seeing something incredibly real. That kind of smile is different. It's not the polite one we give to strangers or acquaintances. It's what psychologists call the Duchenne smile, a full, authentic expression that involves not only the mouth but also the muscles around the eyes. It radiates warmth. It doesn't ask for attention. It simply appears. And when it's accompanied by that subtle lift of the eyebrows, it sends a clear emotional message. I wasn't expecting to see you, but I'm glad I did. What makes this reaction so meaningful is its spontaneity. It's driven by the limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotions and instinctive responses. There's no time for him to plan or adjust. It just happens. And that's why it's so honest. Jung reminded us that emotions we suppress don't disappear. They get buried and come out later, often in indirect ways. But in this case, the emotion doesn't need to hide. It finds its way to the surface, unfiltered, in a micro-expression that says far more than words ever could. If you notice that he reacts this way every time he sees you, pay attention. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. His unconscious is revealing that your presence triggers something positive, something warm, something emotionally significant. You'll also often notice other signals around it, a quick lean forward, a longer than usual look, or even a sudden burst of nervous energy. These aren't random, they're all part of the same emotional story, told in silence. And here's the thing. This smile might not lead to immediate action. He might not flirt. He might not say anything at all, but his body has already spoken. His expression gave you a glimpse of what he feels, even if he's not ready to admit it. So next time you catch that light in his eyes and that barely visible eyebrow lift, know this. It's not small. It's the beginning of something quietly meaningful. By now, we've seen how the eyes and the face speak volumes, but there's another language even more intimate and often even more revealing. Touch. When a man feels a pull towards a woman, his body may begin to seek her presence in small, nearly imperceptible ways. These aren't bold moves, they're quiet gestures, subtle, yet deeply emotional. A light touch on your arm as he says goodbye. A hand that lingers just a second longer on your back during a hug. Fingers that brush yours when there's no reason to. These aren't accidents, they're signs, and they often appear in moments when words wouldn't be appropriate, or when feelings are too raw to be spoken aloud. Physical contact, when done with care and intention, is one of the most ancient forms of emotional expression. We don't reach for people we feel nothing for. Touch requires closeness, both physical and emotional. And when a man's unconscious mind leads him to find those little excuses to close the gap between you, what he's really saying is, I want to be near you, even if I don't know why yet. Carl Jung once wrote that loneliness doesn't come from being alone, but from being unable to express what matters most. These subtle touches are often the first attempt at that expression, a soft, wordless confession that he may not even be aware he's making. Watch how he reacts after the touch. Does he smile more, seem more relaxed? Does the atmosphere between you shift even slightly? Those emotional micro-movements speak of comfort, of interest, of something quietly forming beneath the surface. What's especially telling is if these gestures are reserved only for you. If he doesn't behave this way with others, if his touch, his proximity, his energy changes only in your presence, then his body is making a choice long before his mind has caught up. And remember, this isn't about grand romantic gestures. It's about small, sincere signals. A gentle moment of contact may not seem like much on the surface, but it might just be the place where his deeper feelings are starting to take form, timidly, silently, but unmistakably. Now that we've walked through the signs, the glance, the smile, the touch, you might begin to see that what happens in a greeting isn't small at all. It's rich with emotion, instinct, and silent truths. While the mind may hesitate, the body rarely does. And when a man feels something real, those first seconds of contact will carry the weight of everything he hasn't yet found the words to say. Carl Jung often spoke of how the unconscious speaks in symbols, and in everyday life, few things are more symbolically loaded than a greeting. It's where presence meets emotion, where instinct bypasses reason, and where closeness begins before any dialogue. And once you know how to observe it, you start to understand people not just by what they say, but by how they exist in your presence. If he greets you with more warmth than usual, if his eyes light up in that fraction of a second, if his body leans in or his hands seek closeness, don't dismiss it. These are not meaningless gestures. They are glimpses into his emotional world, clues left behind by a heart that may not yet feel safe to speak. Not every man will confess what he feels, and many never will, but the body confesses in its own quiet language. And when attraction is present, it leaks out, in smiles, in hesitation, in energy, in detail. A greeting may seem ordinary, but when viewed through the right lens, it becomes a ritual of connection, a moment where the unconscious reveals its hand before the conscious mind has a chance to intervene. And perhaps that's the beauty of it, because in a world so full of noise and distraction, these subtle signs are the ones that still hold purity. They're not filtered or forced, they're just real. And real is rare. So next time someone greets you, pause, look a little deeper. Feel the energy, watch for what's said between the lines. You might find that the truth was there all along, quiet, patient, waiting for you to notice. And as promised, here's the message I wanted you to hear. If you learn to read what's silent, you'll never again be confused by what's loud. The body always speaks first, and in that honesty lies everything.